Get ready as we swiftly explore the entire storyline of solo leveling in just 10 minutes. So without further ado, let's get started. Enter the world of solo leveling, where dungeons team with monsters and hunters rise to face the challenges. At the center of it all is Sung Jinwoo, an E-rank hunter striving to make ends meet. Little does he know, his life is about to take an extraordinary turn. Our story kicks off with Jinwoo on a routine dungeon raid. Unfortunately, things go south. He comes face to face with beings beyond comprehension, and there is no hope of defeating them, especially for someone as weak as him. But with his quick-wittedness, he deciphers the riddles of that dungeon. Several members of his party survived thanks to him, but due to his cut-off leg, he was left behind. Jinwoo never surrendered, but his fighting spirit meant nothing in front of absolute power. As he was being slaughtered on a chopping board, a message appeared in front of his eyes, leading to a life-changing moment. He becomes a player, armed with a unique system that allows him to level up and gain powers. This unexpected development sets the stage for Jinwoo's incredible journey. With the help of the system, Sung Jinwoo could finally become a real hunter. However, frustrated with unreliable teammates, Jinwoo decides to go solo. He embarks on a series of dungeon ventures alone, steadily growing stronger. With each victory, he gains recognition among fellow hunters, and even those who previously abandoned him acknowledged his strength and apologized. Jinwoo entered a dungeon prepared by the system to grow stronger. There, he faces a formidable foe, a blood-red knight. Since acquiring the system, it was the first monster that far surpassed his abilities. Just when it seemed he might be overpowered, his clever use of the system's ability allowed him to defeat it. But the battle wasn't over yet. An enormous number of armored monsters attacked him. With his life on the line, he fights desperately to survive. In the end, atop a mountain of monster corpses, Sung Jinwoo emerged victorious. At that moment, the system grants him ancient power, the power to command the army of the dead, the power of the Shadow Monarch. It's a turning point that solidifies Jinwoo's reputation as a force to be reckoned with. Chahae is one of the few S-rank hunters in the nation. She specializes in attack skills, such as Sword of Light and Sword Dancer. Jinwoo first comes across Chahae inside a dungeon while he disguises himself as a miner. She is a somewhat reserved and distant individual who comes off as off-putting, due to her unique sense of smell. She could smell a disgusting odor from all the hunters, until she met Jinwoo. The only hunter that didn't smell, it sparked a curiosity in her. Their relationship started as comrades in arms, which would later turn out to be something more in the future. A dungeon gate's difficulty is indicated by its rank, and after 7 days of opening, if the boss is still alive, a dungeon break occurs. About 4 years prior to the events of the story, an S-rank gate opened on the island of Jeju Island of Korea. As the Korean S-rank hunters were too weak to beat the dungeon boss within 7 days, a dungeon break occurred and thousands of giant ants overran Jeju, killing thousands of civilians. Since the gate's appearance 4 years ago, the Korean government has made several attempts to take back Jeju Island. However, after the death of a Korean S-rank hunter in the third Jeju Island raid, the government gave up on ever being able to take back the island. While the ants go on to live on the island without any issue until their food source runs low, prompting them to begin evolving wings and flying towards human settlements. The dungeon boss in the gate was the Ant Queen, a ridiculously powerful magic beast with immense power. Like with regular ants, these magic beasts live in colonies and spawn from a queen, with the Ant King being the most powerful of the queen's children. The Ant King is a magic beast so powerful, it kills several S-rank hunters in an instant. In the intense mega raid on the main colony of the ants, various global powers sent their best hunters, believing that multiple S-rank hunters would be able to beat the boss. However, 8 of 16 S-rank hunters wound up losing their lives against the Ant King, and the remainder would have been completely decimated had it not been for Jinwoo. After an epic brawl with the Ant King, Jinwoo's immense strength made it realize that it could not win, and it tried to flee. However, with multiple fast slashes of his blade, Jinwoo kills him. In death, the Ant King became Baru, one of Jinwoo's most important shadows. And the victory made Jinwoo into a Korean national hero, effectively changing his life forever. As Jinwoo delves deeper into his powers, he discovers the truth behind the system. He learned that, Once upon a time in another world, a god created the rulers and the monarchs. The monarchs threatened the human race in that world, while the rulers fought the monarchs to ensure peace. As the wars became more rampant, the rulers questioned the god's intentions. Why did he not get rid of the monarchs himself? Why did he let them constantly fight? So they asked the god to help them fight the monarchs. But the god remained silent. It was then they realized that to the god the fight of the rulers and monarchs was mere entertainment. He didn't want the fighting to stop, nor did he care about the lives of the innocent. Among all the rulers, the strongest among them was Ashbourne, and he also had undying loyalty for his creator. But Ashbourne couldn't win against the combined forces of the rulers. As he was dying, he discovered a sinister power that the god had hidden in his body. From death, he emerged with the power to control the dead. He became the Shadow Monarch. But it was too late. By the time he had arrived, the rulers had already slayed the god. At that moment, the monarchs reached out to Ashbourne as they joined hands to fight their common enemy, the rulers. Their fight decimated their world, leaving only ashes. So the monarchs plotted to take over a different world. They threatened Earth. But before they could come to Earth, the rulers wanted to give Earthlings a fighting chance, so they created the dungeons. They sent monsters and magic materials to Earth to prepare their world for what was about to come. But Ashbourne knew that it wasn't enough. Although he didn't like the rulers, he couldn't let the monarchs destroy another world. At that moment, he saw Jinwu. Even though Jinwu was not as strong as him, Ashbourne saw a mirror reflection of himself in Jinwu. So he decided to pass down his power to him. And he chose to train him with something the people of Earth were familiar with, a game system. With the system, he trained Jinwu and slowly assimilated his magic into his body, turning him into the new Shadow Monarch. In the climactic showdown, Jinwu faces the monarchs and their minions. Sung Jinwu's fight with the three monarchs, the Monarch of Plagues, the Monarch of Frost, and the Monarch of Beastly Fangs, was one of the hottest battles in solo leveling. At an early point in the fight, the Frost Monarch froze a large portion of Sung Jinwu's army. However, Baru breaks out and manages to fight the Plague Monarch. Sung Jinwu manages to kill the Plague Monarch, but is bombarded with attacks from the Ice Monarch and the Beast Monarch. Suddenly, the Beast Monarch impales Sung Jinwu from behind, killing him. After Sung Jinwu's death, he meets Ashbourne, the true Shadow Monarch, who shares the history between him, the monarchs, and the rulers. The hearty discussion ends with Jinwu agreeing to be reborn as the Shadow Monarch. After Jinwu's rebirth, he commands the Frost Monarch to wait for him while he finds the Beast Monarch, who cowardly ran away from the battle. Instantly, Jinwu's aura covers the whole Earth, and he spots the Beast Monarch at a distant location and teleports there. By using 5 attacks, Jinwu kills the Beast Monarch without exerting much effort, exuding authority and immense power. After killing the Beast Monarch, Jinwu teleports back to the Frost Monarch's location and gets rid of him too by only using a few attacks. After Jinwu defeats the 3 monarchs that wreaked havoc on Earth, the Monarch of Dragons, Antares, revered as one of the most powerful monarchs, decides to eliminate Sung Jinwu. Later on, he appears on Earth through an S-rank gate with the Monarch of Transfiguration and the Monarch of the Iron Body. Sung Jinwu easily killed the latter and engaged in the most striking battle in solo leveling. Antares transforms into a fearsome dragon, imbuing fear into Jinwu's summons, while attacking Jinwu with destructive flames. On the other hand, Jinwu responds with attacks of his own. However, because Jinwu's dagger wasn't able to penetrate his thick armor, he decided that he needed to create his own armor, out of darkness and shadows. It was a symbolic moment to see flashes of Ashbourne, Jinwu's father, and images of Jinwu's past self. While he landed the final blow against Antares, using the same dagger that his father used. Jinwu bought enough time for the ruler's army to make their entrance, and the rulers killed Antares, ending their millennia-long battle. With the monarchs defeated, Jinwu's journey comes to an end. However, the victory is not without its toll. He had lost many people he cared about, his father and Adam being his most recent losses, which is why he asked the rulers to use the Cup of Reincarnation to send him back in time to save them all. Using the Cup of Reincarnation to turn back time meant bringing back everyone, including the monarchs who died. However, the monarchs were spiritual beings, so they would keep their memories intact. But the same cannot be said for the shadows, such as Iron and Greed. The Cup of Reincarnation not only turned back time, but it also erased Jinwu from everyone's memories. Nobody would ever remember the sacrifices he made to save the world. All the friends and allies he made would no longer remember who he was. Nevertheless, Jiwoo shut himself up in the dimension gap with the remaining shadows who would still exist in the past. He beat all the monarchs and met with Antares once again. So, after beating the monarchs once again, Jinwoo returns to Earth. But he returns as a middle school student. And since no one remembered him, he sought to reconnect with his family, friends, and lover.